Alright, what's up guys, TheMainManSWE here, hoping you're all doing awesome as always. And listen to this lovely music. The saxophone, it's so sexy and mesmerizing. It's from King of Fighters. I've seen a couple of YouTube comments when I do read them. Usually, you know, you want to stay away from YouTube comments, but sometimes they give you some good insight. And a lot of people have noticed that I'm using King of Fighters music. And I've suddenly taken quite the interest in the game. I mean, the music is great, and Geese is one of the greatest fighting game villains ever, if you ask me. Akuma has nothing on him. So you might see me play some King of Fighters soon on a video. Hopefully that happens. Because I've heard King of Fighters is available on Steam. I sure hope so. But at least I sure hope everyone's doing great. That actually goes to both you guys on YouTube and even the clumsy, nasty fucks in the Twitch chat who keep being rude to me. I get so much shit. I need to get better mods. No, just kidding, Rebellion. You're doing a great job shooting everyone. But I still don't have my voice back. For those of you who missed it, I got sick. I mean, this is news. You gotta keep up with the main man news. 2 weeks ago, I got a cold. And it's still not over yet. I can still feel it. And that's the way it is in my family. My father and my siblings, whenever we get a cold, it lasts minimum 2 weeks. Is anyone else like that? Or is it only my family? My girlfriend, when she gets a cold, 2 days. And then it's like nothing ever happened. And it doesn't help when you go to the doctor either and you go, "Doc, I've had a cold for 2 weeks. It just won't go away." And he does this face. What, should I be alarmed? Absolutely not. Like, no reason to be afraid. And then he picks up a book, and the cover says, "Symptoms of AIDS." No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But you do wonder a little bit about your immune defense or whatever it's called, you know, when a simple cold just won't go away and the doctor says, well, it could be AIDS. No, I'm kidding. It sounds a lot like HIV though. No, poor me. So that was a rather long, not so much cringe intro, that was actually proper quality comedy. Thumbs up to Main Man. And you got to know that I'm sick, that's very important, and that I have a growing interest in King of Fighters, which, from what I hear, is the hardest game when it comes to execution. So I have pretty decent execution. It would be kind of cool to see how I do in that game. But I do want to talk a little bit about tier lists, if I may, in this video. And I got an interest in doing so because of this conversation on Twitter that I'm gonna get to in 30 seconds. But Mr. Speedkick's amazing player, who is extremely active now, it seems, on YouTube. I think he has an interest in becoming a YouTube content creator. He seems to have posted quality videos like the last week or so. So check him out. Should probably subscribe to him. He's a very dedicated Tekken player. He seems extremely gifted, smart, has done well in tournaments. Although you should probably make sure you're sub to me. I mean, first and foremost. I haven't won any big tournaments, but everyone knows if I would start going to tournaments, would I lose any of them? I mean, I'm not kidding here. It's like probably one of the best Tekken players in the world. But enough about me, and let's dive into the conversation I had here on Twitter. And this is all gonna revolve around tier lists, I think. And a concept I tried to explain like a year ago, when Speedkicks called me a scrub, which is perfectly fine. But I think a lot of people just misunderstood what I meant, and it's that, to me, Tekken is very different depending on your skill level. You know, a tier list and the balancing of the game is different depending on the level where you are at. And Speedkicks and a lot of pro players, they feel like the game should only be judged by the god level, you know, where you know everything about the game. And that's all we should take into account. But to me, that's incorrect, because the large majority of players are not at the god level. So to me, what is reality when it comes to Tekken, it's the experience 99.9% of people have. But yeah, you get into philosophical territory rather quickly. Well, I mean, maybe not philosophical, that sounded a bit pretentious, but you get my point. It's very subjective. And perhaps you saw this Super Akuma versus Baxi 2 grudge match, baguette grudge match, Spain versus France, I think it is. But Super Akuma plays Akuma, and he gets some flack from people saying Akuma is cheesy. So Kane and Trench, great British player, says, I'm still seeing complaints about Akuma and how he apparently carries some players. Sure, he gets to do combos with barely any scaling amongst other things, but there have been strategies to beat him for ages now, even if he's a one-time character. Just adapt, for fuck's sakes. And then I answered, you're correct, but so are the people complaining, in my opinion. Akuma can be very annoying and rule-breaking. You have to remember that you're a pro player. Most people never get 10 out of 10 fundamentals and are run over by strong gimmicks. This is an argument I've been making for a very long time, and just a quick example to immediately get across my point here. It's like, take a character like Noctis. How hard is it to do the aura? You press down back 1+2. I know chimps who have learning disabilities and are confined to wheelchairs and have a lack of oxygen in their brain because they have French fries shoved into their nose permanently. They can do the aura reliably whenever they want to, because the execution is so easy. And now flip that coin. If I start spamming the aura, is it easy for my opponent to counter that? It's absolutely not. What your opponent has to do is try to move in on you and then sidewalk you from close range. Because from long range, the aura is almost a perfect homing move. So this is a great example of something very easy that is extremely complicated to counter. Another great example of this is, it's not really relevant anymore, but in Tag 2, Eddie's back 1-4, at top level, it wasn't a problem. Is Noctis aura a problem at top level? No! I don't see Noctis winning any major tournaments. He seems to be confined to mid-tier on tier lists. That's what he is. But when you're not at the highest level, the aura is an absolute beast of a move that will allow low skill players to beat high skill level players, because the high skill level player has to work so hard to get around it. And it's basically like me beating legendary Mihawk for my true Tekken God rank up with Noctis. That was epic. That gave me a boner, a stiffy if you will. But Mihawk is a better player than me. But I absolutely squashed him. He had no chance versus my Noctis. And it's because he didn't know the matchup, and the aura is just that hard to counter, movement-wise. So I just wanted to get that across. It was the same thing in Tag 2 with Eddie back 1-4. Even though Eddie did not win any tournaments, he was not considered broken by top players in Tag 2. Back 1-4 was still removed for Tekken 7, because it created such a massive unbalance of a game. It was such a balancing problem at all the other levels of the game, but not at the god level. But okay, so I hope that made sense. And I thought it was interesting. That was my answer. And then Gerlanda says, because Akuma gimmicks are different from other characters' gimmicks. Every character has gimmicks. From Akuma to Paul, to Law, to Lane, to Kazuya, to Katarina, to Gigas, to King, to Heihachi, there's not a single character that cannot be used in a gimmick way, being very effective at low level. So this is a subjective opinion. It matters a bit where you come from. But saying that every character is gimmicky, to me, is the equivalent of saying, well, every character is a grappler. Because every character has a throw. That doesn't hold up, in my opinion, to scrutiny, because the grappler in Tekken is King, or Marduk, or Armor King, because they have excellent throw games, or maybe Jack 7. It's the same thing with gimmicks. Some characters are just a bit more gimmicky than others. I mean, Akuma basically can do things, rule-breaking stuff that no other character can do, like invincibility, he has a Hadouken, he has a super annoying 2D jump, demon flip, etc, etc. But yeah, I just don't feel that argument holds up very well. But so I just wanted to very quickly touch upon Speed Kicks. Again, like, subscribe to Speed Kicks. He has great insight into this game in huge detail. But he made basically a top 10 video. I'm gonna link it on YouTube because God knows, whenever I don't link videos, you guys are so upset. Oh, YouTube comments never change. Why do I read them sometimes? I don't know. Okay, occasionally there's someone, you know, speaking very highly of me, and I always like those comments. So please thumb up those comments so they go very high. So tier lists, in my opinion, should they be a thing of the past? Because, to be honest, who is this relevant to? This is relevant to top players, like Speed Kicks, for example. And is this for tournaments, or is this deathmatch? That's very different, because in a tournament it's usually a best of 3. That's what you have to win, and that's very different from winning a deathmatch. Kazuya, for example, is a very strong deathmatch character, but a very bad tournament character. Because Kazuya is defensive, and he needs a lot of time, usually, to get a read on the opponent so you can punish. Characters that have a high degree of match control do better in tournaments. Characters who pressure and have strong frames on their pose. Like, for example, Kazumi. And don't you feel all of this comes crumbling down immediately when you think of Rangchu's Kuma or Panda win at Tekken World Tour? The low tier character? Why did he win? You could see at Tekken World Tour in the finals versus Kudans, Kudans was not the only player who obviously did not know quite what to do versus Kuma, but he was one of them, and that's, I mean, for how long has Kudans been an expert at Tekken? 20 plus years? And he hasn't figured out the Kuma matchup yet? He didn't know what combos to do, etc. And yeah, Kuma won the World Championships in Tekken. Should we still be looking at tier lists like these? Devil Jin, arguably, I mean, to most people, the strongest character in Tekken 7. He lost the grand finals to Kuma, who most people will place here, at the very bottom of the pile. And I'm just trying to also get across that this tier list is the most relevant to people who, you know, play the game professionally at a very high level. We're not even talking the top 1% here, it's more like the top 0.01%. Soon 4 million people will have bought this game. And out of that chunk of 4 million people, who are the elite? A couple of hundred at most? So what should be the relevant tier list? Should it be this, the top player insight, or should it be the world that most people encounter? You don't have to base it on online, which is the way to play Tekken these days, I think. That's what most people do. But the game is just, it doesn't look like this at beginner level, and then intermediate level, and then high level, and then elite level. To me, you just cannot do one tier list to encapsulate all that is Tekken. But that's just my opinion, and I think tier lists should be more detailed. And honestly, I think you could make an online tier list. And I think if I were to make a tier list that was very realistic and according to what most people encounter, I would put Katarina and Noctis quite high on it, to be honest. Any top player would say I should just shoot myself immediately because I'm crazy. But unless you're the very elite, Noctis is super strong. Super strong. So again, just to give an example of what I'm saying, Speedkick's tier list, he probably puts Noctis right around here. Not well rounded though, faults, around here. But if I were to make a very realistic tier list, I would put Noctis here. And that's not relevant to Speedkicks because he will destroy a flowcharty Noctis player with his excellent movement. But that's only relevant to 0.01% of players. 99.99% of players will see Noctis as a huge threat because there's so much work involved in shutting him down compared to playing him. Anyone can pick up Noctis. So I hope this made some form of sense. I just don't want people to be too locked into tier lists. And as I said before, this whole thing with you have to take into account how easy is the character to play, how hard is he to counter. Why is Aura so strong, for example? Why is Katarina very strong? For example, sorry, this is the last example, but why is Katarina and Paul, why are they so strong at low and intermediate level? Because in a world in low and intermediate where no one punishes, you want to go high risk, high reward. Because it doesn't matter if it's high risk if it's not punished. So might as well go with the character that has absurd damage. That's why you see Katarina and Paul so much. If no one punishes Death Fists, which people don't do in low and intermediate, Paul is overpowered. So why is Katarina so strong at those levels? That's why. Why did Forsen make it so high in rank in 2 days with Katarina? It's because high reward, huge reward on the moves. And if no one punishes appropriately, and you get away with it, I mean, why not go with high reward, high risk? And she's kind of hard to get around. The opponent has to know what he's doing, defensive-wise. But yeah, I don't want to yap too long. But I hope that was slightly interesting, and I hope you all have a nice day. Cheers.